everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Empowerment Project podcast. Today I have my friend Carrie here with me, very special friend. The reason why I wanted to bring her here is because she's been on a big journey herself in all different aspects: weight loss, confidence, mindset, and also becoming a business owner. So I think her journey is going to be very beneficial to everyone who is listening. So thank you so much for being here, Carrie.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so many learnings along the way. It's like, oh, get ready for the conversation.
Let's do it. So for the listeners, in a nutshell, who's Carrie?
Oh, it's a big question. I'm still figuring that out, age 40. So I suppose adjectives: challenging, playful and curious. Age, height, weight. I basically founded my own company, which is a big kind of, I always call it my baby. I don't have any children, but I definitely do have a child in the form of the company, called Cruxy. I went through a big journey of kind of my drive and mindset, and I've definitely been on that path since I was very young, thanks to my parents, who are very much about that. But also, I went through quite a lot, not compared to what other people go through, but everything you go through is only relative to your own self. And my parents got divorced. They then 4 years later got remarried to each other. Quite an experience. I was pretty young at the time, but I have an amazing sister who, she's on the Empowerment Project. She's always been my kind of rock as well. But I guess I kind of am trying my very best to embody, there is nothing that we can't do, believing in betterment. I try to pay it forward as much as I can to women. And I have become very much a vanguard of, the more disciplined you are, the easier life gets. And this is with regards to, food and business and life and, even my clothes. I get out the night before and lay everything out. Like, I realize I'm like an army mindset person.
Prepared.
But I think, that's kind of me and what I'm about. And I think I'm very, the older I get, the more I realize that actually life is just long, and everything is so nuanced, and what we go through is so unique to us, but actually also that we all are feeling a lot of the same things. Classically, people talk about imposter syndrome, and women talk about, I sit with a lot of women who mentoring or, helping a lot of women who might start their own thing and saying, like, you actually have all of this. You can do this. Like, you've got this. And it's just about executing in line with your vision and mission and what you want to do. And sometimes that's going to be horrible. Some days you're going to want to just go back to bed and pull the duvet over the head and say, oh, I just want to sit in bed and have, cookies and cream or whatever. That's definitely me. But, it's what you do in those days, and it's the fact that you get up and keep going. And I know they're all cheesy, like Instagram quotes and all of this, but actually, I don't know, it's one of those things that the older you get, the more you realize, God, it turns out most of this is actually true. That's a bit about me and then of course the journey I've gone on with regards to weight and fitness has been life-changing, because it's become like such a big driver of growth and passion and success and like love, and there's so many friendships, and it's just been an amazing journey for me.
Yes, we got our friendship through that.
Exactly.
Yes. So just
gym reception.
I know. I was going to just say, just to give you a bit of an idea how me and Carrie met. I used to work in the gym, and she was the member of the gym, and obviously, as you do, you talk to your members, and we just suddenly became really friendly. And I would definitely say, back in the days where it was 6-7 years ago, we were definitely in a different place than what we are now. So let's talk about that. Obviously, I know you from the 6-7 years ago, but let's maybe go a little bit further than that. Let's talk about the weight loss and touch upon that a little bit. What's been happening in your life, and what was the journey like, the ups and downs? Just give us a bit of a...
So I would say, obviously when I met Pav, probably a part way through that journey, but her energy and her vibrancy and her passion and what she's now doing with empowerment is just, I'm just a massive believer in. So I'm glad you're in my life.
Oh,
amazing you.
Same.
Very grateful. And you and Jacob do amazing things. So I think I wish I had been able to find you guys, when I was on my journey, but obviously life's long and I can recommend everyone to you. So where I am now is obviously you know, I'm probably the lightest I've been in my adult life, but I don't really look at the scales too much anymore. I just yesterday got to 25% body fat, which was a goal I had. I'm probably working towards about 22, would be absolutely amazing, but let's see. And I really want to feel strong. And I want to really revel in, I have this mantra, which is fit and healthy as a way of life. And that means for me, I can do these things for 10 years. It's not, and I have a chair of my company and she always says, Carrie, life, you know, she's French and she's very amazing. And she always says, you know, life is so long. You've got to think that you're going to do this for the next 10 years and you've got to make it sustainable. So you can't like, you know, be working till 2 a.m. every morning, night and morning if you're, you know, you've got to make it sustainable. So that's kind of where I am now. All the way back.
Yes.
Just always an extremely dysfunctional relationship with food. Fitness, in and out in waves, misunderstanding what would get me the result, definitely, but always very passionate about sport, extremely competitive, like absolutely, you know, I rode horses, Great Britain when I was younger, like, I mean, horses is quite a unique thing. But through that, I always was like, you know, I was trying to do different training with dad in the garden and I've always been very competitive and I love sport, I guess. So from swimming and tennis and, you know, very active lifestyle, I'd say. But food, very different. So whereas with sport and fitness, there was always this kind of sustained, I believe in it, I think it's really important, I love it. And then it was dipping in and out of it being consistent. So with sport and fitness, it was much more about consistency and we see it all the time now, right? You see it in the gym, I see it in where I work out, etc. You see people are doing the same thing and they're expecting a different result.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what with fitness, that was the difference. With food, completely dysfunctional. Like from when I was 7, like, and my parents got divorced, I remember thinking, you know, I don't know, we had this like pasta dish that was, you know, like pasta with like a kind of, it actually wasn't too bad because it was made with like a roux, you know, flour and milk, not with cream, but it tasted like carbonara-esque, you know, with bacon. And like my mum used to do it with like bacon and mushrooms and my grandma did it with like leeks. And I was like, oh my God, this is like the best thing ever. And I would just gorge, you know, like from when I was 7. And then it was there was so many layers and memories of my dad telling me, you know, I've never seen anyone eat so much mayonnaise. And it's like, fair enough, I do love my mayo. Try to limit that now. More Greek yogurt, less mayonnaise. But I think it was just always so dysfunctional. Then I went to uni and I went through phases of like, you know, oh, I'm not allowed this. I'll just have an apple a day because then I'll be thin. Like, what does that even mean? Like, and look gaunt and ill. Like, yeah, sure, that's really attractive. And then I went through phases where it was more about punishing myself, being really disciplined, say Monday through Thursday, and then Thursday breaking the seal, as I think of it as, and then almost like the whole weekend would be a write-off.
Okay.
You know, like rather than, I was at a wine tasting last night. I love wine. I was at a wine tasting last night and we got home and had fried chicken. But this morning I got up and I had my protein smoothie and I'll have like a nice niçoise salad for lunch and like more, that's fine. Like, you know, what are you going to do for the next 10 years? Like never eat a carb? Like that's probably not going to happen. So I think food has always been really hard. And
any specific food groups that you try to stay away from? Or was it just generally like habits and overeating, undereating?
I think definitely when the wave of kind of Atkins before keto, it was like an Atkins wave. And it became very much like, oh, fat's great. Eat as much avocado as you want, but, you know, don't eat a carb. Yeah. Don't look at a carb. There was definitely a wave of that. There was also just a complete misunderstanding. Like, I know it sounds so basic, but like, I didn't really sit down. And, you know, I love numbers, so it's ridiculous. But I didn't really sit down and rationally think like, yeah, of course, fat is a good thing. But nuts, like if you're having a thing of nuts with a drink at a bar, you know, that's literally your dinner.
Yeah. In
some cases. And now I just say, oh, I don't want the nuts, but I'll have the olives. It's so easy.
Trade-off.
But I didn't even think. And it was so disappointing because then you're caning yourself. You're doing everything you think you should. You're doing all the now we know, you know, like you're doing all this cardio, like killing yourself, doing like spin classes and HIIT, and like your knees are killing and you're like, oh my God, I've got to keep going. And HIIT really helped me to get rid of a lot of the weight. But I think now I wish I'd kind of done weights earlier, because they are just the best thing in the world. Like, yes, Romanian deadlifts.
We love RDLs. We love RDLs.
Yes, we do.
We do.
But yeah, so food has been quite and I would say even only in the last like 3-4 years, like the real sustained continuous improvement is where I've cracked like routine, not hating myself, going on holiday and being like, no, I'm not going to work out because I'm 40 and I'm going to Sicily and I'm going to like be naked in a villa with my partner and like we're just going to bumble around and we've got a nonna cooking for us and she's cooking like pistachio and prawn pasta and like, and I'm just going to, you know, and then come back and get back onto it.
Yes.
But
that's what people struggle with the most. Yeah. Just like going on holiday, enjoy yourself, come back and continue as normal. Very true.
So hard.
Okay. So obviously then that would kind of continue, I assuming your habits. Where did you get yourself to the stage? What was your weight, if you remember? And what was the point where you were like, okay, it's time to do something about this?
So this is a bit brutal. So I think my weight at its heaviest was probably about 110 kilos. And I never really... I mean, I always in my mind was like, I was, you know, I'm almost 6 foot, so, you know, tall. And I was always like, we always joke like TNA ratio. Basically, I want boobs and a butt. I want to be slim. And I was like, if I could be like, you know, a size 12 in everything fitting in a size 12, I would be like super happy because, you know, I'm really tall. And I always thought like that would be so amazing. And I remember getting to a point where I think I was probably like a size 18, 20. I don't ever know because I didn't really, obviously you start wearing the really baggy clothes, you start wearing the things which hang. One of the things I do now is even if I feel like I wear something tight, like in the house, and I'm kind of like, nope, you've still got to wear the tight jeans. And it's like a reminder of like, oh, yeah, you can't just put on leggings and a big baggy top. So... yeah, 110 kilos, I would imagine. I mean, I don't think I did it, but probably 45% body fat. And obviously it's carried over carried over like a lot of height. So I don't think people necessarily would think, oh my God. But yeah, it was like definitely in the obese, I mean, probably even higher, like, you know, really unhealthy. And I think I remember I was in Miami and then I went to New York to a wedding and it was beautiful. Gramercy Park, it was a beautiful hotel, you know, stunning. And I was there and I wore this like, what I thought was like a really nice kind of Diane von Furstenberg, like quite floaty. And I was like, oh, you know, that will look really good because, you know, a bit bigger than I would have liked to have been. And I just saw a photo and I remember thinking like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Like someone literally is just like taking over half the photo in like a massive kind of, like it just looks ridiculous. And then I realized it was me.
And that was
it's like straight between the eyes. Didn't at the time really think about all the health implications, didn't really think about things like diabetes. Like obviously now I've got much more into reading and things. So I didn't really think about like, you know, everything from diabetes to, you know, just literally the risk that you're putting your body through. You know, I'm so driven and for the company and the success from the company. And it's like, okay, so how's that sustainable if you're not a fit and healthy person who has resilience and can get up every day and, you know, you feel a completely different energy level. It's just, I remember struggling to get up at like 8. I'd like lay in bed and be like, oh. And now I get up at 5:30 and like I bounce out of bed.
Loving life.
All about the double macchiato. Like
strong. What is the saying? Make me strong.
We were just going to Pret and I was like, oh, I know it comes up as make me strong. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so that was kind of your point where you're like, okay, something needs to change. So what happened after that? What did you start following? Like what happened?
So actually from the gym you were at, the Darren Law, I just, you know, someone introed me to my sister actually again. She's like, She's always there. She was really into fitness, and she introed me to Darren, and she was like, I think he could, help. And I was like, I'm obviously just going to have to like crack this. And he started coming to the house, my flat at the time, and doing like training. I felt so underconfident. Like I didn't even feel, obviously it's also really, I'm sorry if anyone's feeling this way. It's like such a horrible feeling, but you're also like so embarrassed by yourself. Like makes me a bit emotional. Because you're just like, how has it got to this point? Like, how am I someone who like gets shit done, is driven, like knows the facts, is rational, like I read a lot. Like how have I done this to myself?
You let yourself go.
I think deep down you do know that it's like what you've like you're to blame. But I don't know. It was like really tough for me. And I think it was, and like he was just this, he's just an amazing human and like ray of light and shiny and just lovely person.
Yeah.
And I think he just helped me just break it fucking down. And he was like, and he made it like, I think what you guys do, he helped me with that side. Some food tip, definitely some food tips and some kind of like obvious, and the good thing was he started with things that were like actually really genuinely feasible. Like I remember saying about if you work out the number of calories you have in like a cappuccino, and I was there having, 4 a day or whatever. And now I flip that, obviously, now double macchiato is my coffee. And it's like, 20, 30 calories, and a cappuccino is like 100 to 150. And obviously if you're having 3 a day times by a week, it's like a day. It's like a day's calories. And I just didn't, there were things like that he helped me process. And then I think it came to like the kind of committed and the discipline and the like doing it every, so I probably started training like twice a week, and then I went from there. Okay. And it started with HIIT, which I don't do so much of now because of my knees and things like that. But it just cracked it. It got me moving. I remember him saying, I've never trained anyone who just trains till they vomit. And I was like, yeah, I've got a lot. I know what I need to do. And he was just looking at me like, you're grunting like a bodybuilder.
Bless you. Oh, okay. So then obviously that journey started to, you went on a totally different journey, started to lose weight. Your nutritional habits, did they change? Obviously I know the coffee, but generally like, have you started to have proper meals or like including all the food groups in your meals?
I didn't have much structure. I started to try. Obviously I started to try, but if I think of like, well, I obviously watch all your amazing videos. And when I think of like the and I still, I learn from those but even reading and like I was saying about this glucose goddess book and things like that, I didn't really do a lot of that. But what I did do was I started to be like, basically if in doubt, protein. Like Good. If you're hungry and you need a snack, like go grab the egg pot from Pret. It's the best thing ever. Like I started to kind of think about those things. But I still probably wasn't eating quite as I probably could have got there a bit faster. I think like what I see you guys do in the program and with the Empowerment Project and how you structure it, that's probably what would have helped me accelerate. But obviously I still, it's the keeping it off. It's the making it sustainable that is probably something I'm proud of. And I also I can't believe how amazing weights are. Like, why does no one, we need to be telling girls, yes. Like, we need to literally take them to one side at like 8 and be like, any guy that ever says you're going to get big if you do weights, tell them to.
Yes.
Any like person that says, oh my God, you're going to get like really chunky. And you're like, have you seen Beyonce? Just asking, like, have you seen Beyonce? Have you seen J-Lo? Have you seen Shakira? Because like, that's my jam.
Yes, love it. Okay, and when do you think it actually clicked then with nutrition? Because obviously I know how you eat now and you found your balance, which I think is the most hard thing to do. Like whenever I obviously have my clients, it's always the nutrition that needs the most to work on, and finding the balance and not feeling guilty and punishing yourself. So when do you think it clicked? What you were like, what actually, how food makes you feel, like what you should be eating? When did it happen? Do you remember? Or why?
I think even like maybe a year or two ago, we obviously reconnected, and like I follow a lot of your stuff. That's been super helpful. As I said, this Glucose Revolution book was really interesting about the ordering. I started realizing like how much protein for my body weight I needed. And then obviously what I needed to be doing for my training, which I think all of which I was completely like in the dark on. So I think all of that has like compounded. It's so interesting that now I can go somewhere and I just don't even think. I'm just like, I know it's cheesy, but not literally cheesy because I don't have it with cheese, an omelette with no cheese. But, you know, an omelette with mushroom and spinach is just my go-to. If I'm feeling like I want to be really lean, I have egg white omelette with spinach and mushroom. If I'm like, oh, actually this week, I maybe don't have a lunch out, but I have a, you know I've got a lean lunch and probably dinner is going to be quite healthy, then might have a proper omelette. But it's like, it's removing friction from the choice.
And you plan in advance, as you can tell. You literally plan your day. You know. That's good.
And like thinking all the time about, and I know it's probably a bit obsessive, but it's not that. For me, it's freedom. It gives me freedom to be able to say, oh no, like I know I've got a dinner on Thursday night and it's maybe a work dinner where it depends. Most of the time now I get to choose. So then I choose places where I know they have good options and choices and I can make sure it's lean. Whereas I find like sharing, for example, tapas sharing, which I adore, but that has to be a treat. That has to be like a kind of cheat meal because I will literally like, I am diving into that olive oil with the bread. Like I am literally like, get those prawns, you know, I love food so much. So I think that I try to kind of find those ways to make it a choice. And I think what you talk about a lot, which I love, is like, actually, you know, if I'm doing that, maybe I can skip lunch. So maybe I'll have, you know, lean, you know, Greek yogurt with a bit of protein and, you know, a few oats or whatever for my breakfast. And then maybe I'll skip lunch because that literally fills me. I mean, it's great. Or maybe I'll have like, you know, one of the eggs from Pret, you know, as a snack. And then I know I've got the dinner. And at the dinner, of course, I'm going to have a glass of wine. If we're opening a nice bottle of wine, like I love wine. So it's all a choice.
You're the pro with wine. Okay. Yeah.
But I think that's where what you guys do and talk about, but also, you know, it makes the biggest difference because then when you're at the breakfast buffet at the hotel in France, I was just there with my family, like you're literally like, great, eggs, smoked salmon. Oh, they've got chicken, ham and salami. I'm going for chicken. Like it all is so more sustainable. Or, you know, oh, I've got to have some tomatoes and cucumber because otherwise I'm having no fiber and I'll have that first. And it becomes like one of those things that you kind of sit there with people and you're like, oh, okay, you don't really know what. And also the amount you can eat. Like it's actually, like you need to be eating quite a lot, but it's got to be of the right thing.
You're in a great place now. 100%.
Thanks, darling.
100%. And obviously, as with anything, there's challenges. Was your weight loss journey quite smooth? Or do you remember they were kind of like, oh no, it wasn't? Tell us.
Sorry, leaky face. There's leaky face over here. Especially as I get older, the wrinkles, it's like even more leaky.
Stop it.
No, I mean, you know, they show a good life well lived. Lots of laughs. I still find it really difficult. I still find it challenging, but definitely routine has been amazing. I think I found it very difficult to not beat myself up when I made a mistake. But even that, like, you know, saying it's a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's a choice. If you want to have a Domino's, like we always joke, Domino's, it's like,
Domino's on Sundays.
You can diss Domino's, but like that garlic and herb dip is like, my heaven is basically a jacuzzi of garlic and herb dip. So yeah, I think I used to think that was such a treat. It was always the mindset that you're on a diet, that you're restricting yourself. You're not allowed these things, rather than having a mindset of it being a choice. And even now I'm trying, you know, or sometimes I do MyFitnessPal a bit to log things, but I'm also trying to be like, no, you don't need to do it. Like, don't become obsessive. Like, you know what you've had, you know, if you're in that range or not. So that's one of the things that I find very challenging, is not to go to the extreme where you talk about this a lot, and I think it's so important. It's like you become so extremist that you don't let yourself have anything. Well, what's going to happen when eventually, you know, you break the seal? Whereas I think learning to break it and then having trust, look at, you know, I was saying to you on the way here, like, look at the evidence. The evidence is there to prove that you've got this. The evidence is there to prove that, like, whatever happens, like, you could go on a holiday and put on 10 kilos over 3 weeks, and you could come back and you would get back onto it. And if the evidence is there, like, let the central nervous system and all the fear and all the worry, because, like, fear doesn't drive good behavior, I don't think. So I think it's like, how do you get rid of that, calm yourself and be like, you've got this. Who cares? Like, I struggle a lot if I'm on a holiday and it's like day 5. Obviously, I try to walk, and, like, often I take my kit and I work out, but, like, you know, I will literally be looking at my body and be like, and I'm like, chill the hell out, girl. Like,
I think a lot of women do that.
Yeah.
Why do you think we do that to ourselves? I know obviously there's no right or wrong answer to that, but from obviously my experience coaching women, me going through a journey, you going on your journey, why do you think we are so horrible to ourselves sometimes?
I don't know. I think it's awful. And in business as well, like, women are so horrible to other women. They are judgmental. I mean, it's everything. It's like what you wear, how you look, your life choices, your partner, your house, your, like, and, you know, I'm there, like, I want to have a nice life and I want to have nice things, but I feel like women very rarely just go like, I've got you. And, like, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I've done so much work to try and have, like, a bit more compassion for myself. And I think it's, you know, in therapy and, like, really going deep on, like, why am I not compassionate towards myself? Why, if you came to me and said, I'm having a difficult time, this has been a struggle or whatever, I would put my arm around you and do anything. But why, when it's myself, do I say, why does the devil on my shoulder literally scream into my ear, you're a failure, you're not good enough, you're not loved. It's always, you know, I'm always looking at the things I've done wrong. And I think it's so hard. And I think it's something that I don't know really why we do it. I think we just have to make a massive effort to literally, like, write down the positives, you know, reframe. What should you actually beat yourself up over? Like, beat yourself up over saying you're going to do something and not doing it. Or, like, you know, don't be kind to yourself if you're making loads of excuses. Like, I don't want to make an excuse, but, well, then don't. Like, it's a choice. But don't beat yourself up over, like, something that you're drained, or you've got no energy, or you've had a really tough week with work and you therefore feel a bit low. It's like, okay, go on a walk. You know, go on a walk, grab a nice coffee, like, chill out. Obviously, double macchiato this end.
Make it strong.
make it strong. Make me strong.
Yes, make me strong.
But yeah, I think, and then the mindset, and then all of that to me is compounded, like, weights. I can't even describe the feeling. And obviously I'm sure I know lots of your, you know, clients and, you know, people do a lot of weights, but, like, that song, like, when that song comes on and you're in your moment and you're just sitting there going, do you know what? Yeah, I am going to take this 34 kg kettlebell and I am going to single leg RDL the hell out of this. And the power that brings. I just like, how do you describe that?
So exercise gives you a lot of then, like, focus and helps with your mindset and confidence, would you say?
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what do you?
Same. Like, you just do it because you love it and how it makes you feel. Yeah, but a lot of people think sometimes about exercise as a punishment from what they ate, right? You know, they just go to the gym to burn calories, so they had that pizza and they think, oh my God, I need to go to the gym because I made a mistake yesterday. Which obviously you're now in a place where you found your balance, and, you know, if you have your pizza on Sunday You then continue as normal on Monday, and that I think is really, really important.
That's particularly, sorry, just to jump in, particularly with drinking. Because with drinking, what I used to do was like, I would go out and drink, and then it would be like something naughty, like, because you'd be drunk and you'd have like, you know, I don't know, something ridiculous. And then the next day I would not get up. So what I do now is if I go out drinking and I have a few drinks or whatever, then I'm like, right, I think about what I'm going to eat. Like, what are you going to eat before? Are you going to have like, go to Pret at 5 p.m. and have a salad? Or what are you going to do before? And then what are you going to do after? And like, it's so silly, but you know, we have a couple of things at home that you can just, you know, like quite often I do have Greek yogurt mixed with, it's really, really delicious. Like the Farge yogurt in Farge yogurt we trust.
Love it.
But yeah, so that like mixed with, you know, a bit of protein powder, and then, you know, something, I can still make it something really yummy, like with a bit of dark chocolate powder, or it depends if I want savory. But like that, thinking about that, and then still making sure that I'm home, like, you know, tucked up in bed with my routine maybe by midnight, and then I just get up at 5:30 and I make it non-optional. I'm like, it's not optional to say that you're going to get up at 9 or 8 or 7. You just get up and you do the work. And I think that's been a real shift for me.
Okay, love that. And obviously confidence is something I'm a huge advocate of, and I think every woman should feel the best, whatever that is for anyone, they should feel like that, because it's just, you just feel so free if you feel confident in a good way. Where obviously you were before, and then you got yourself to where you are now, how much did your confidence change? Was it just then through exercise that it improved, or what did you do that you worked on yourself so much to be in a headspace you are now towards yourself?
I mean, many things. So I'd say like, I mean, it's all obvious, right? But I have quite a lot of people that are not in my life that were probably at one point, and that isn't for, you know, they're all lovely, great people, but it's not, I think you become the people you spend time around. And if you really want to go on a journey, then you need to look at yourself and say, right. And obviously you still spend time with people that maybe are not quite in the same mindset, but the mindset of the people you spend time around for me is so important. I started doing a lot of work on myself. So I speak to an amazing lady called Hannah Arbend. She is awesome. I'm going to introduce you.
I want to bring her for the Empowerment Project.
I think
ladies.
she could do some amazing work. She, you know, she combines, you know, it's not just life and love and work and self-esteem. It's like at the end of the day, everything is wrapped up in what we think of ourselves. Through her, I did a lot of work, and I also, I went and did the hard work, and it's hard. And I also, she recommended me to read, you know, there's an amazing book from Nathaniel Hill, The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. Started reading and really practicing and thinking, like, one of the things that you have to do, it's all around self-acceptance. And you have to stand naked in front of a mirror, and basically accept the things that you like and don't like about your body. And you have to do that for, you know, 30 days or whatever. These things are deeply challenging.
I love that. I remember when you told me this.
Yeah. Deeply challenging to do if you're quite in the zone of self-criticism and self-loathing, and like, you know, obviously it's the RuPaul. Love RuPaul. It's the good old RuPaul. If you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here? Yeah. So love RuPaul.
Amen.
And then I think, you know, that being kind to yourself, that it's so hard. It's so
and
hard.
The compassion, right? I think that is a huge thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
So then my kind of things that I've done, and then I think, I definitely have people in my life who, and you're amazing, and people in my life who say, oh my God, like, you've changed a lot. Like, this is amazing. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
I think I used to be quite like tense to spend time around, and I'm sure I still am, especially in work. I think people are a bit scared. But I think I feel relaxed. I feel...
You're just you.
Yeah.
Literally, you are.
I never knew you could feel this way. I never knew you could walk down a street, and I never knew you could be at something like an event or a dinner or walk down the street or whatever, and it not be thinking constantly, am I okay? Have I done this okay? Do people like me? And then flip from like saying, well, they should do this, and then flip to like, or maybe I've done the wrong thing. I never knew you could be calm. And I saw something on Instagram the other day, and it was like celebrating calm, confidence, and like, I see a lot of women be really driven. I see a lot of women be very, fiery and on it. And I want to have this sense of calm, and I'm still working on it, but it's probably going to be a forever journey for me, I'm pretty sure, because I'm quite fiery as well. But I kind of think, actually, like, where's my base? What's my foundation? Like, let's bring it back. So yeah, that's my thing.
Your journey. And your baby, Craxy, opening your own business is a huge thing. What, brings a lot of risk, a lot of thinking. What made you do that?
I just always had this feeling that, and I was at Mars, and Mars is a massive company, and the training was outstanding. And I'm so grateful for, I worked for a guy called MJ, Mark Johnson, and he was awesome. And I worked with Fiona Hughes. I work with amazing people, and I learned so much from them. But I always felt like that people that really know their shit start their own thing. So I feel like I'm just one of those people where I kind of think, just put your money where your mouth is. Like, and I know there's people who have done extremely well in the corporate environment, and that's their journey. And of course that's, my sister's an example of that. Like, of course, I think, that's fantastic. But I think I'm just of the breed where I'm like, I want to go out there and I want to do things differently. And so I decided I wanted to do that from when I think I said I wanted to run my own company when I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
Early.
Not a precocious brat at all, but very early. And then I was very, very lucky in that my mum and dad, but like, they just are go get it. Like, I never even remember my dad speaking to my sister and I, like, we were like girls. It was like, go, 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 go.
Encouraging.
Like, what more could you do? What else could you do? We used to come down from studying for our exams, and we were doing A-levels and GCSEs, at the same time. And my mum would just say, well, only you know if you've done enough. And we'd just go straight back upstairs. Like, my sister and I are like, we must work harder. Like, what we're like geeks, basically.
Love it.
So I think you just have this innate, and then if you have that innate feeling of kind of, I can do something, I can do something. And then you're scared. Obviously you're like, oh no, I can't. And all the reasons why you can't come out, and it's much safer, and you can stay in a nice big job and earn a nice big salary, and life's great. But I think if you have that tingle
and the belief in yourself.
Yeah. But I don't think many people do really have the belief. I think it's like a bit of a misconception when people say, oh my God, you must be so confident to start your own thing. I think you're just kind of like, well, I must be able to do this. Like, again, let's go back to rational fact. If you've done it in an organization, if you're willing to learn and read, and if you're willing to absorb new methods and ways of working, like, you've got this. Like, no one knows. Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, all these people, they're not sitting there with like, the playbook of how to do it, but they are like, do you know what? I can bring people in. I know what I'm doing. I know what I know. I know what I don't know. And probably, for some, there's an air of arrogance. For some, there's an air of narcissism. For some, probably all of us have a bit of that in us, saying, okay, there's a little voice saying you can't. And there's a bigger voice going, well, if you can't, who else can, So I think there is definitely that. But I think it's also just taking that leap and saying, like, I feel like a lot of people just aren't scared anymore. And I think it's quite amazing to have this feeling of, like, wow, I'm not sure. It's exactly the same feeling as you have with weights when you're like, oh my God, I'm going up. I can't. And then someone is just like, yes, you can. You've got this. Go. Like, no excuses, go. And you just like, and then you just do it. It's exactly the same mindset. It's growth mindset.
Love that. I love that. And obviously, as a business owner, you being busy a lot, how do you find time for yourself? Because a lot of people struggle with that, to still prioritize themselves. A lot of people just go to work, do their job, go home, go to sleep, and kind of let themselves go a little bit, which I know you don't, because obviously I know you. How do you manage it? Because you do have to be a little bit prepared, I guess, in advance. And yeah, just how do you manage to still put yourself first?
I do think, so if you're not healthy, does work matter? If you're sick, if you're ill, if you can't like go and see your friends, if you can't go and see your family, if you have like, let's imagine, you know, either physical or mental issues that mean that you can't live your life, you won't be working, you won't be seeing your friends. So to me, you won't be able to see your family. You would be limited by those things. So I kind of think of it as this foundational layer. So for example, I have blocked out in my diary every morning until 9. I used to think you need to be up and working at like 8 or whatever. And now I'm like, no. And I do loads of work breakfast, and I do work, you know, some on a Wednesday I can make it work at 8:30. On a Friday I can make it work at 8:30. But I literally make that time, and I'm like, no one is taking that from me, because if I'm not healthy, either mentally, you know, feeling like I'm on top of things and I'm in a good place, or I'm not looking after myself training wise, nothing else is going to matter.
I love that.
I will literally not even, I won't be able to hug or look after my family or, you know, be with my partner or see my friends. It's just, I'm not going to be effective at work. It's irrelevant. Like half an hour is irrelevant. If you're worried about half an hour, you're in the wrong job and you're inefficient. So for me, the way I think of it is like, what is the time that you're going to block and make it non-negotiable? No one changes that. And I know it's difficult when you're like, sometimes it can be the victim of someone else's agenda. And I probably do that to people, but I try really hard with my team to kind of be like, guys, you know, and I might be having 40 meetings a week. I might be going to something every evening for work. So it's intense, but I try and like block this time and just make it kind of, and I'm not saying it has to be in the morning. I find it much better in the morning because I feel like you're ahead of it. And then it's harder for people to really interrupt that time. And then you've already had the win. Like some days I look at my watch and it's like 8:15 and I've done like 120 minutes of exercise. I've done 10,000 steps and I'm like, well, I'm ahead of the game. All I've got to do is shower, get ready, get all my stuff together and go deliver my day.
Yeah, and you're ready to smash it.
So I think it's that prioritization. And I wasn't previously prioritizing it because I was saying that there were so many other things that mattered more. But really, what does matter more? Like, what matters more than having a clear head? What matters more than knowing that you're strong and that you're fit and that you're healthy? And you might not look that on the outside to start with, and that's okay. But you know you're making the inputs. Keep delivering the inputs. It's leading versus lagging indicators in business. We talk a lot about that. Your leading indicators are literally, what are you doing? What are your input measures and what are you doing? The lagging indicator is the size of dress you're wearing or the shape of your butt. Always on the journey for the Beyonce. But it's lagging, like it will come. So I think that's one of the things that I've done that, and then there's all these, I don't know, I love these hacks. So, you know, like I have the Pret subscription for coffee. I just think it's amazing. And Pret were open through COVID and I really support what they do as a business. And I think actually they give you a lot of healthy choices. I know there's better out there, but I think it's very good for what, you know, and in London and when you're in New York, you have not, you know, the price points are crazy. Oh. Yeah. So I think we're really lucky and they're always so nice in there. But, you know, like I walk to the one like a bit further away to get my coffee. And then I organize so that a couple of my calls are just voice calls so that I can do them walking. Small little things, one tube stop further away, you know. And I think they're all small things. But like, yeah, I think my average step probably this week's like, you know, 12,000 a day. But I used to be at 3,000 a day. I used to think there is no way I could be at 12,000 a day. That is just a completely ridiculous that's unsustainable. Like, don't people have a job? You know? So I'm that person. So yeah, if any of you guys are struggling with that, definitely like Pav and I can do a session.
It's manageable. It's manageable. Okay, I've got last 3 quick questions for you. If there's someone who's listening, struggling with confidence, wanting to embark on their journey, whether if it's weight loss or literally just work on the better version of themselves and becoming confident, what would be the advice you would give them? Where to start and how to make the initial step?
I think the first thing is like, you have to sit down with yourself and really It's that honest conversation that you can only have with yourself. Personally, for me, that's always with a notebook and your good coffee, you know. And you have to just say, like, what am I, like, how important is this to me? I use a lot the GROW model. So it's just in business. It's like goal, reality, options, way forward. And I think you have to sit and just really get sharp on the goal. And then the reality, like the reality is, what am I actually willing to do? And what am I not? So when I first started, like, I wasn't willing to give up eating at Michelin star restaurants, eating all the time, like 3 times a week, you know, ridiculous. I wasn't willing to give up any form of alcohol, whereas I've cut way back now because I actually think, you know, I drink less, drink better. That's my mantra. So it's like, you know, but I just wasn't willing to. So my reality was it took me way longer, which is okay because I did it eventually and I got there and it was all marginal gains, you know, but I could have done it way quicker. So I think it's that deep conversation with yourself. And then the next thing is you have the deep conversation with yourself. You really work out where you are if you can't do it with someone. And then I think it's what you guys do. It's like get a coach, get someone who, and I don't think it's as much about them being with you in the gym. And that's what I love about what you guys do. Because I actually think, to be honest, to start with, it's so much of it's so basic. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, when you're in the level where you know, you're really pushing yourself and you're really trying to step it up, then I can see having someone there can be helpful. But don't rent a mate. You know, when it's like, you know, you're training with a PT, but you're basically renting a mate and you're not actually training that hard at all. It's just a waste of money. But I think what you guys do where it's got to be that combination of coaching, support, diet, and creating structure. Because you need, you know, I'm a big fan of outsource things that you're not best in the world at. You know, outsource everything you're not best in the world at. And I think this is an area where people will know, and like you will know and be able to say, looking at a food diary, oh, like switch that for that. You know, now I'm much better. I can sit with my parents. They're like, oh, you know what? We're not like, we don't really eat very much, but like, we think that we should be losing a bit of weight. And I'm like, well, you should, you know, maybe because as you get older, they're both very fit and, you know, they look great, but, you know, they're like a bit, and we were having this discussion in France and I was saying, okay, but you don't eat protein till dinner? And I was just like, guys, come on. But it's easy to do. And they're not at the level, you know. But I think having someone there by your side who's going to message you, who's going to sit with you, who's going to sit in the pain with you, who's going to be like, it's okay. You don't need to beat yourself up. And I think that's what you do, which is amazing. But it's hard to find it's hard to find people that really get that this is a multifaceted thing that we're dealing with. You know, it's not about fitness. It's not necessarily just about diet. It's how I feel about myself.
Yeah, literally, that's the ultimate goal. 100%. Question number 2. What's the scariest thing you've ever done in your life?
Actually, physically the scariest was this summer I was in Switzerland and I went whitewater rafting, kayaking, and they tip you over in the kayak upside down to like see if you can get out. Oh my God. Like I've never, I mean, and the guy was like, I think we should do it again. And I was like, really? You think we should do it again? Like, I think it was just unbelievable. And whitewater rafting I did in Zambia when I was younger and I found that really tough. But you're obviously, if you're a strong swimmer and you're like, but they're level 5 rapids on the Zambezi, it's quite challenging. But this, I mean, and then mentally, you know, that was just so brutal and so scary. But then I think mentally, all the work on yourself when you sit and look in the mirror and you admit you don't like who you are. It's like, and then you just break down and then you're like, okay, out of darkness comes light. Just keep focused, keep going. But when you're feeling that feeling of, it's kind of what we're discussing here, right? It's like you can't grapple with, your mind is in one direction, your behavior's in another direction. You know, like you think you're a smart, well-read, relatively decent person. Why am I in this place? That to me is a very scary place to be. And if anyone's in that place, like reach out, like, you know, chat, like it's okay. You're not alone. I think honestly, I've come to the conclusion that like 80% of people are feeling this.
100%. Yeah.
And it's really freaking scary.
Yeah. And we shouldn't.
So one is a physical fear, like literally.
Yeah.
Turns out being like dunked into freezing cold water, trapped in a kayak, is not particularly fun.
No. Not for me. Thanks. And last question. What are the 3 things on top of your bucket list? If you have one, which I'm sure you do.
I definitely do, but like, 3 top
things that you would like to complete in the next 3-5 years.
So I definitely want to go to the Arctic.
Okay.
There's a thing you can do called, I can't remember the name, but you fly like in a helicopter and then you land and you do all these ridiculous things, but like also just with the nature and the animals and things like that. So Cyril and I talk a lot about like how we would just love to do that. White Desert, that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. And like it's ridiculously expensive. So obviously I have to be extremely successful. So this is all layered in, assuming I'd be really, hopefully I can achieve these things.
You will.
So yeah, I think White Desert, number 1. So my sister Bex has done going to see the gorillas in Rwanda. Or Uganda, I think it was Rwanda. And I've really, like, obviously we talked about safari and how this is just like the most amazing experience. Mm-hmm. So I think that's definitely up there.
And last one?
And the last one is, I want to trap bar deadlift 140 kgs, baby.
I love that. That's going to come in a couple of months, 100%.
I want to take it down. I want to show myself that everything I ever thought I couldn't do can be broken. And it's just so... It's not the lift of a weight. It's so much more than that. And then, yeah, I mean, hopefully I can also exit the company I'm building and do amazing things with that. But I think that might be longer than 3 to 5 years. Let's see. Journey's long.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming. This has been really, really great. I really enjoyed that. Thank you,
You're amazing. Thank you, Pav. And like your story is so inspirational. I think you inspire me every day and I watch everything you do. And I think of like what you will achieve in your life is just amazing. And I'm really proud to call you my friend. And if anyone's watching, then yeah, get it. I think what Pav and Jacob are doing is exactly what I needed. And I'm so proud that you guys are friends.
Thank you. Thank you for being in our life.